When Eloise and Danny rushed their little boy to hospital, they had no idea they'd be walking out without him. 22-year-old Joe Massa, a victim of mistake after catastrophic mistake. The hospital failed him terribly, refusing to listen to his frantic mother and give him potentially life-saving treatment. His parents are beyond heartbroken, yet they're determined to make change, and they join me now. Eloise and Danny, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so sorry, and I'm also so angry on your behalf. How are you both holding up?
It's been a big day, and it's been a catastrophic life since last September for Elle and I and our family and our friends.
And look, before we run through all of those mistakes, and there were so many, can you tell me a little bit about Joe?
Joe was the light of our world. He loved playing with Grace and Teddy. He loved dinosaurs. He loved his garden. One of his favourite words was flower. He lit up everyone's face when they saw him. His hugs were just infectious. He would start tapping you on the shoulder and comforting you.
He was a big softie.
Yeah.
And he was just so infectious. Everyone that came across Joe just felt so warm and loving from him. He was amazing.
He completed our family, Ali.
Yeah. Well, he was the baby, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was the baby. And I look at these, these tiny little, his little shoes and his smiling face there that you've got in front of you, and he's still so very, very real. And I think I want to know then how, Eloise, you were in hospital and you're holding your normally cheeky little boy. You know he's dying and no one is listening to you. What is that like?
Oh, you feel absolutely to the core heartbroken, but you're in a state of shock, in a state of terror. And as a mother, to feel that you're not able to keep your child safe is something that it's the most harrowing feeling, and that no mother or father should ever have to feel. It was like an out-of-body experience, and I was in sheer terror and shock, but advocating. I didn't stop advocating, but it was just you're a living nightmare.
And Danny, you arrived at the hospital right as Joe went into cardiac arrest, and that is something you can never unsee or forget.
No, the images, the experience that we went through for those personally for those 29 minutes. I wasn't there prior, but having to see your 2-year-old baby boy be given life-saving CPR and pray that he makes it through, only to have turn off life support 2 days later while you hold him is something that no parent should ever have to go through ever again if it can be avoided.
And you know what? This was so easily avoided, avoidable.
Absolutely. He entered the hospital and he had an extremely high heart rate. His visual signs were, as a mother, you knew it was beyond a gastro case.
And just to give that a little bit of context there too, because it was the night before, about 11 o'clock, he started vomiting. He was really unwell, so you called 000 at 6 a.m. and they said take him to the nearest hospital. So if you pick up from there, you arrive. As you say, his heartbeat was so fast. What happened?
We got to the emergency department and we were seen to by at triage. We were incorrectly triaged in a lower category where Joe was in the red zone, category 2, meaning he had an imminently life-threatening condition. He needed to be put straight into a resuscitation bed or a paediatric bed. He needed to be seen to by a senior staff within 10 minutes and monitored every 15 minutes. None of that happened.
Well, that's it. Instead, you were effectively ignored and you spent hours waiting for a hospital bed. It, in fact, took 2.5 hours. At that time, you've got your little boy in your arms. He's lapsing in and out of consciousness. They've decided this is a case of gastro. We're not going to even look at any other possibility or any other kind of diagnosis. And you were screaming at them. What were you screaming? I think at one point you said his eyes rolled into the back of his head, and you made the point that my son has gone blind.
Absolutely. It was at that point that I finally got to bed at 9:40 a.m.
So this is more than 2.5 hours after you arrived at the hospital, knowing, as a mother does, that motherly instinct, that your son was incredibly unwell.
10 minutes prior to me taking that photo, I said to the doctor, I'm taking him out of here. He's not getting the care that he deserves. 10 minutes goes on, he's completely deteriorating. We get a bed, still not hooked up to any monitoring equipment, and his eyes roll to the back of his head. I scream that he's gone blind. I'm at this point, I'm going, this is going downhill. Can we get out of this? This is the sheer terror in me. And I'm being told to calm down, that these are just normal symptoms of gastro, and his pulse was just taken manually. And without, again, no electronic equipment. It's just not good enough.
And so then to fast forward, as you've been at the hospital for nearly 4 hours, Danny, you've frantically arrived and you're running down the corridor. At this point, your son is in cardiac arrest. What gets me, Eloise, that he couldn't even hold your hand as he took his last breath.
I was still advocating for him as he literally, I'm screaming down the phone to get me out of here, get me better health care on the phone to...
I got a text message at 10:41 that they were in the resus bay, and I ran from the car park to the administration desk and came around the back and then ran down that hallway to the resus bay, and there was Elle screaming down the phone to get Joe out of the hospital, and Joe was just lying there in the bed. And I said to Joe, it'll be all right, mate. I got to his face and I touched his face, and I said it'll be okay, and he vomited up some blood and went into a cardiac arrest.
And a tear rolled down his eye, and I still wasn't holding his hand because I'm still trying to care for him and get him help.
What do you need to change?
We need an independent review into the emergency department at the Northern Beaches Hospital, because not one thing went right in that hospital. So there's systemic failures that have happened repeatedly in that hospital. Everything from processes, policies, IT infrastructure needs to be reviewed. And not just reviewed, change implemented. Then the second thing is reach. I want every single parent to know that they have rights when they enter a public hospital, that they are empowered to, when they're feeling unsafe and they know that perhaps something's not going as it should, that they can call a number and internally escalate a rapid response when the doctors and nurses don't do it themselves.
And you can get a second opinion.
Yeah, Elle was meant to be given reach, like catalogues or pamphlets or some sort of information, but that wasn't given. And then when she asked for extra help, they never even advised that you can do this. Like, but parents,
I listened to all of this, and you could not have done anything more than what you did, Eloise. And I'm thinking about those hospital staff. Like, what more did they need to see? Like, what needed to be in front of them to be convinced that your little boy was seriously, seriously unwell?
And they're the questions that need to be answered. We asked that of the hospital, and they told us it comes down to individual performance. It's not good enough. So we want every single person that walks through an emergency department to receive a text message now in New South Wales, and a massive awareness campaign backed by the government. And we really do want a review and a re-evaluation of the public-private partnership with HealthScope. We're asking for them to stop putting profit before the well-being of our Northern Beaches community.
You know what, we walk through the doors of emergency room, particularly when we take our kids in. We expect them to be looked after, and we need to recognise too, we have so many wonderful doctors and nurses in this country who are so appalled at what has happened here. What response, what have you had from the hospital?
We have had an open disclosure meeting to discuss the Serious Adverse Event Review, the SAYA report. Outside of that, the communication's been limited or zero. we've had someone give us an update as to that's progressing, but there's been no direct response from the hospital.
You must have days where you just want to pull the bed clothes over the top and just not get out of bed. How do you do it? How do you get up each day?
Our 2 other children. We have to be there for them. We want Joe's spirit and memory to live on. So Joe's very much a part of our life, but we need to be strong for those kids so that they can grow up and not be negatively impacted by this. So
how do you explain it though to a 7 and a 5-year-old why their baby brother's not with them anymore?
Yeah. They ask some big questions and they're really tough to answer. But we hope that they can see their parents in time to come doing the right thing, speaking up with determination to change a system, a healthcare system at Northern Beaches that's broken.
We want the local community to feel safe and to trust that they can take their children or themselves to that hospital and have proper healthcare.
Yeah.
Not one more day deserves to go by where the systems remain in place, and we want every single person to feel safe in the community and for people to know about our story so that change, real meaningful change, can be implemented.
Look, I just think the strength that it takes you to sit here and talk about it, quite frankly, I don't know where it comes from, but it's amazing. And I reckon that little Joe will be proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you
so much.
Look after yourselves, okay?